It's a good guess that you're probably being measured on leads, and the person who's deciding your budget or how much you get paid is thinking in terms of revenue. So, my question for you is, do you know how to speak that language? Because what I find is that most marketing professionals are really great at their craft, but when they sit down at the table and they're talking revenue, they kind of fade into the background, they get a little sheepish, and that's costing them. So, this video is going to change how you see your role and how decision makers see you.
Hi, welcome back. Today we're talking about revenue operations, and before your eyes glaze over, I want you to stay with me because I'm telling you this is going to be a major competitive edge. We're going to be going through it and talking about why all women in marketing, sales, customer service, any piece of the business that's tied to revenue, and if you're watching this, you're probably an ambitious female who's building something, so it's probably applicable. This is your competitive edge. Revenue operations is the function of the business that aligns marketing, sales, customer experience all around one shared goal. And that is, I would say 10 times out of 10, predictable, scalable revenue.
Historically speaking, marketing, sales, and customer experience each get their own lane and operate in that lane only. And that's where we get that infamous corporate buzzword, silos. Essentially, each department has its own goals and metrics, and it's why organizations often hit long plateaus or they just can't find alignment. So RevOps is the layer that's embedded into all the departments and really changes this. So it takes ownership of the tech stack. That includes things like your customer relationship management system or CRM, your marketing automation, and more, and make sure that the tools that you do take on are talking to each other and make sense. It also handles the data and reporting layer to ensure the company can make decisions from a single source of truth for faster and more accurate decision making, and it's responsible for the handoff between departments, whether that's handing off marketing to a marketing lead to sales as an opportunity, or handing off a closed prospect to customer service for retention efforts. A common misconception is that people equate rev operations with sales because of the name. Revenue implies sales, makes sense, but RevOps actually sits at the center of everything, and this is why marketers who understand it become the most dangerous marketers, and I mean that in the best way possible. This is an example of a classic customer life cycle and where RevOps can capture, own, and optimize that. So common gaps it's going to surface and solve for is getting the right context to the right people and making sure that data is being delivered and there's a seamless handoff happening at every step. So the difference between an unhealthy and a healthy CRM looks like this. You want good info captured in your contact records and that definition of good to be aligned on. You want your leads to be tagged by source in your CRM so marketing knows where to focus their efforts. And you want one revenue tied directly back to marketing campaigns for the same reason. The difference between marketers who stall and marketers who win usually lie in what they measure. So instead of focusing on MQLs, focus on pipeline influenced by marketing. Instead of impressions, focus on CAC. Instead of focusing on open rates, focus on lifetime value of customers attributed to marketing leads. Instead of focusing on cost per lead, focus on win rate by customer segment. Instead of focusing on traffic, focus on revenue from each marketing campaign. The first set of metrics is important. What's more important is telling the story of how that first set of metrics influences the metrics that actually carry leverage.
So why does this matter specifically for females in the marketing field? Marketing is often perceived as a really big expense in companies. A lot of times it is even referred to as a cost center. And a lot of CEOs, they view it as a sunk cost because they either don't understand how much money that it is being attributed from marketing to the business, or they just aren't actually seeing any results at all. The marketing team is inefficient, but they know that they need it, so they just kind of see it as this sunk cost for the company. So typically when layoffs come around and when budget comes around, marketing takes a hit. Usually that's a story we hear over and over again. RevOps, revenue operations fluency, shifts that mindset. What it does is it shifts the mindset of marketing being a cost center to marketing being a revenue driver. And that's the big difference I want to talk about today. This is how you move from leadership trying to manage you, or like people you're pitching trying to manage you, or clients trying to manage you, to being somebody that they're like pulling the chair out for at the table and being like, please have a seat. We want to hear your opinion on this. So just a few seconds ago, I talked about how CEOs sometimes see marketing as a sunk cost because they don't understand how much of marketing activity, is being attributed to their pipeline. And so this is a classic attribution problem that a ton of organizations deal with. So if you are relating to this, you're definitely not alone. When marketing can't prove its impact on revenue, that makes sense that naturally it's going to be the first channel, the first team, the first department to have budget cut. I get it. Like, we have to sympathize with the CEO and the CFO there, right? Revenue operations gives you the framework to better prove how effective and how important your marketing budget and your marketing activities are. So if you want to eventually move into a VP seat, an executive seat, any type of leadership seat, this is a really important conversation for you to be a part of. You need to understand how revenue moves through an organization. And so this video is that foundation for you. I worked in 2 different agencies and then 2 different teams in a healthcare corporation. And it felt like every team I worked for, whether I was on the agency side or the in-house side, or even a little bit in freelancing, we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. And I saw a lot of people guarantee things and promise things that I knew they didn't actually know if they were going to be able to fulfill. So that was actually the original reason I started my agency, is because I was like, marketing agencies are lying to people left and right. This is crazy. Like, I want to have an honest marketing agency and one that's ready to have the tough conversations and ready to really master their craft. As I matured in my career, I realized that a lot of marketing teams, a lot of marketing roles were trying to prove their worth with the wrong numbers. They were trying to prove their worth with impressions, click-through rate, engagement rate, versus things like pipeline attribution, sales velocity tied to marketing, CAC, lifetime value. But a lot of them weren't even aware of the sales numbers in the company. They couldn't even tell you what the quarterly earnings were. I thought it was really funny knowing that, and knowing that marketing and sales have this long-standing, well-known rivalry in most companies of just always not being on the same page. This is what drove me into the world of RevOps and has given me a competitive edge. Here's a quick playbook that you can apply this week. Let's go over 3 plays. Play number 1 is to sit in on a sales operations meeting. Or if you have a revenue operations meeting, try to sit in on that. But I have yet to meet a company that isn't, unless they're extraordinarily successful, that has a revenue operations meeting on the calendar. So it's probably going to be sales ops, or like a sales admin call or a sales check-in call that you need to kind of leech in yourself onto for a minute. All I want you to do is observe. You don't have to contribute a lot. The purpose of this is that as a marketer, your perspective is critical, and just you showing up signals your intention and the fact that you're thinking about things much differently than every other marketer in your company. You're being strategic, you're being inquisitive, you're being insightful, and you're being intentional. Those will help start shifting the mindsets of those around you. If you want to be perceived differently, you got to move differently. That's play number 1. Play number 2 is for the next time you're building a campaign report. I want you to figure out how to add 1 revenue downstream metric into that report. So how you do this is you got to sit and you got to ask yourself a different question than you normally would. I want you to ask yourself, how can we think past the click? So if you are, recording clicks to conversion, clicks to call, clicks on the website, pages with the highest engagement, how can you think 1 layer deeper than that? And you're probably going to have to call up your sales buddies to get some of this information if you're not already doing this. That's play number 2. Play number 3 is I want you to try to learn your company's CRM inside and out. You have to learn this well enough to be able to pull your own reports and self-serve, because if you're constantly going back to the sales team and asking them information, that's actually just going to drive a bigger wedge between you and the sales team. It's not going to do what you think it's going to do. You have to learn how to self-serve here. You don't want to wait for operations, because self-sufficiency is always going to be viewed as credibility in the workplace. Whether you're agency, corporate, freelancer, owner, whatever, self-sufficiency, learning, becoming fluent in your company CRM, that is going to equate you with credibility in the company. I can promise you right now that nobody else is doing this. That is your competitive edge. The takeaways I want you to go into your week with this week is that revenue operations is not really a department that you become a part of. It's just a lens that you start seeing the workday and the activities that you're executing on from. So this week, your homework is to initiate one of the 3 plays that we went over from the playbook. Comment down below and let us know either which play you're going to be executing or how that play goes. Would love to hear more on that. Would love to hear feedback. Would love to even just open it up to a bigger conversation here. Next week, we're going back behind the scenes. I already have a couple behind the scenes videos up on this channel, but I'm going to show you in real time how revenue operations lives and breathes inside of a professional services organization. So that'll give you a little bit more perspective and hopefully grow your confidence to then execute the next play from the playbook. I hope you all have a wonderful week. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because I post every single Saturday for the ambitious females that want to build something, that want to grow in their career. And it is intended for you to watch this during your Sunday reset so you can have that competitive edge in the week ahead. Have a lovely week, and I will see you next weekend.